The father of the modern Olympic Games, Baron de Coubertin, once said, "The most important thing in the Olympic Games is not to win, but to take part, just as the most important thing in life is not the triumph, but the struggle. The essential thing is not to have conquered, but to have fought well." This statement metaphorically sums up the true spirit and goals of the Olympics. Unfortunately, the true purpose of the Olympics seems to have become non-existent in the never-ending debate about the economic advantages and disadvantages of hosting the Olympic Games. In this video, I will tell you a little bit about the history and nature of the Olympic Games, then I will address the pros and cons in addition to the proposed solutions for making them more manageable by host cities. Welcome to World Econ News, your daily dose of economics and finance. If you are interested in topics influencing the world economies and global financial flows, this is the place for you. Watch till the end if you want to get the latest on everything. And don't forget to subscribe, like, and hit the notification button to get the latest updates. Let's go. The modern Olympic Games are international summer and winter sporting events that alternate once every 2 years. Thousands of athletes from more than 200 countries converge on the selected host city every 2 years to participate in a wide range of sports competitions. The modern Olympics were inspired by the ancient games that used to be held in Olympia, Greece from the 8th century BC to the 4th century AD. The father of the modern Olympic Games is the French historian and educator Baron Pierre de Coubertin, who is a strong advocate for sports in schools. He founded the International Olympic Committee, IOC for short, in 1894, leading to the first modern games in Athens in 1896. From 1896 to the mid-1980s, each country's National Olympics Committee was responsible for sponsorship programs that generated profits and allowed corporations to use the Olympics in marketing. However, all that changed in 1985 when the IOC created the Olympic Program, TOP for short, which enabled it to become the exclusive seller of all Olympics sponsorships and broadcasting rights. Now, before I dive into the issues related to the negative economic and financial impact of the Olympics on host cities, I do have to remind you that the Olympics are a positive force that unites nations, raises awareness about the importance of sports in schools, creates an environment for competitive professional athletes in which they can prosper and break barriers, and last but not least, it contributes positively to globalization. The Olympics were never meant to be an economic growth factor, hence I would be surprised if any city applied to host the Olympics with profits in mind. In reality, the Olympics are considered an international contribution to the betterment of humanity by the hosting city and state. Nevertheless, the economic impact is present, hence it is a matter of discourse. According to most reports and studies, the short-term economic impact of hosting the Olympics tends to be less positive than anticipated. This led many economists to prompt the idea that cities without the necessary infrastructure may be better off not submitting bids for the Olympics. Submitting a bid to the International Olympic Committee to host the Olympics costs millions of dollars. Bidding cities spend anywhere between $50 to $150 million in the bidding process on consultants, lobbying, event organizers, and travel related to hosting duties. For example, Tokyo lost approximately $150 million on its bid for the 2016 Olympics and spent approximately $75 million on its successful 2020 bid. Hence, we can say that the bidding process itself is not just expensive, but also very competitive in nature, which goes along with the competitive nature of the games. Hosting the Olympics is very expensive. The cost usually ranges between a few to tens of billions of dollars, which heavily depends on the already in place and needed infrastructure in the hosting city. For example, London paid $14.6 billion for hosting the Olympics in 2012. Beijing spent $43 billion on hosting the Summer Olympics in 2008, but spent only $4 billion on the Winter Olympics in 2022 because it utilized the in-place infrastructure it constructed for the 2008 Summer Olympics. Athens, Greece spent $15 billion on hosting the 2004 Olympics. Brazil paid over $20 billion for the 2016 Olympics. The argument that the Olympics creates a boost in job creation for host cities is not always as beneficial as perceived. For example, when Salt Lake City hosted hosted the 2002 Olympics, only 7,000 jobs were added, about 10% of the number that officials had mentioned. Also, most jobs went to workers who were already employed, which did not help the number of unemployed workers. Many of the profits by construction companies, hotels, and restaurants went to international companies. It is widely believed that a boost in jobs due to the Olympics is a temporary phenomenon that fades away. There is also the issue of income from the Games, which often covers only a portion of expenses. For example, London brought in $5.2 billion, but spent $18 billion on the 2012 Summer Olympics. Vancouver, Canada brought in $2.8 billion after spending $7.6 billion on the Winter Games in 2010. Beijing generated $3.6 billion, but spent more than $43 billion for the Summer Olympics in 2008. Okay, let's talk now about the economic benefits of the Olympics. I do have to mention before moving forward that the positive long-term economic impact of the Olympics represents an ocean of opportunities that will manifest only if the hosting city and country undertake serious steps during the 10 years between winning the bid and holding the Olympics. China is an example that I'll use here. In the years leading to the Beijing Winter Olympics in 2022, the Chinese government and the city of Beijing invested billions of dollars creating an internal winter tourism industry that gained the interest of more than 300 million Chinese citizens. Such an investment secured the continuation of economic benefits after the Winter Games, since hundreds of millions of individuals and families will continue to use the constructed facilities. It is very hard to ignore the infrastructure benefits cities gained from hosting the Olympics. Such improvements include the construction, expansion, and renovation of roads, highways, train stations and railways, subways, hotels, malls, sports venues, winter sports villages, police stations, tourist sites, entertainment facilities, green power plants, and much more, in addition to the implementation of green technologies and advancing the city's technology infrastructure. Thousands of existing and new workers participate in the preparation process. Thousands more temporary jobs are also gained in the months leading to, during, and the months after the Olympics. For example, Rio de Janeiro constructed 15,000 new hotel rooms to accommodate tourists. Sochi, Russia invested approximately $44.3 billion in constructing non-sports infrastructure for the 2014 Olympics. Beijing spent over $22.5 billion constructing roads, airports, subways, and rail lines, as well as almost $11.25 billion on environmental cleanup in preparation for the 2008 Summer Olympics. Research has also shown that foreign investment and international trade increase for countries that have hosted the Olympics. And last but not least are the intangible benefits, such as the feel-good effect or civic pride that boost the people's spirits and increase openness towards the world and diversity. This leads us to an important question. How do the Olympics benefits compare to the costs? It is impossible to measure the actual benefits to costs of the Olympics in a comprehensive manner that takes into consideration the long-term benefits and gains. However, there are simple methods to measure the obvious benefits to costs. For example, Beijing's 2008 Summer Olympics generated $3.6 billion in revenue compared with over $40 billion in costs, and London's Summer Games in 2012 generated $5.2 billion compared with $18 billion in costs. Nevertheless, the value of the infrastructure host cities gain, combined with the immediate as well as short and long-term economic revenues, can be described as priceless if utilized correctly. Most economists and financial analysts agree that the Olympic Games need reforms to make them more affordable. Many have pointed out that the IOC bidding process encourages wasteful spending by favoring potential hosts who present the most ambitious plans. Observers have also criticized the IOC for not sharing more of the fast-growing revenue generated by the Games. Nevertheless, in recent years, the IOC has been responding to these demands, and some progress has been cited. In conclusion, it is up to the host city planners to decide how their city will economically benefit from hosting the Olympics by taking into consideration during the planning process the long-term infrastructure needs of their city. Would you like to learn more about what influences the world economies and global financial flows? Click on one of the videos that showed up on the left or go to our channel to find other interesting topics.